And finally, following up on our Reserves Advanced Concept webinar, we had a few questions that we put into the miscellaneous category. I just want to make sure again that we're giving value to you. We want to help you have success at your association. You're the ones with your feet to the fire. We want to be giving wise counsel and helping you have success. So how does a builder get away with building some reserves but not all? For instance, we have just turned over and the building funded only some items. Developer regulations are different from state to state, and so that's nothing that we have control over. It will literally be different from state to state as far as the standards, and it's a quality type issue. Fortunately, most builders try to do a reasonable job. Unfortunately, there's some that cut corners on the budget, and that's just the way it is. Your job as a board member is to commission a credibly prepared reserve study and get your own strong numbers to look at so you know how to move your association forward. How is the COVID and supply chain interruptions going to affect the periods between updates? Is 1 year's the new 3 years? Actually, that's a very good question. With the economic instability we have now, earlier this year we saw significant price increases on wood. We're hearing clients talking about how roofing expenses are going way up because roofers can't get the supplies. So yes, that's a good reason to update your reserve study more frequently. We may be giving some higher costs this year in our reserve studies that maybe are temporary, and we may be able to reset those expenses in another year or two. So in our current unstable economic environment, it may be a good idea to do your reserve study update a little more frequently than you have been doing. Will audited financial statements adjust for expenditures made from operating that should have been made from reserves? That's kind of past what we do. Will operating fund expenditure require a budget amendment if not contemplated previously? Talk to your reserve study provider. Talk about the situation. It may be a significant issue. It may be a minor issue. It may be actually something you need to talk to with your tax preparer. That's a detailed enough question that I'm going to counsel you, as with any specific reserve-related question, talk to your reserve study provider. They're there to help you. Next one. I think we need to raise dues, and I'm the only person on a board of 7 that thinks that. Do you have methods to help convince the board? Well, you want me to give you a hammer? Well, I'm sorry to hear your situation. It is all too common. What you can do is probably twofold. Number one, make sure you're using the right words. Talk about reserve deterioration. Reserve contributions sound like they're optional, like if you put a 20 in the plate when they pass a plate at church. That's optional. That's a contribution. Reserve funding goes to offset the true cost of deterioration. The roof is going to fail whether you've made your reserve funding or not. So you're going to pay for it whether it's a special assessment or through the ongoing budget. So the reality is get a reserve study, know what your upcoming expenses are, and prepare for them. Because otherwise, all you're going to get is a special assessment. So use the correct terminology and remember that it doesn't raise costs. It just means you're going to pay for them on a stable level, part of the ongoing cost of ownership. And so everyone sees and knows that it really does cost, in a condominium, $360 a month to run the show here. And next year it's going to cost $370 a month. And for the people on fixed income, if it finally gets too expensive for them, they can see it coming and they can sell at a time before they're forced out with a special assessment. So it's kind to the owners. It's the board's responsibility to manage the assets of the association. So use your words well, and remember, you're not changing the expenses. You're just smoothing out the financial picture, and you're being accurate. You're being forthright and transparent to the owners, telling them exactly this is what the cost of ownership is at our association. Is it smarter to take a loan or do a special assessment to complete a 7-year street repair project? Oh, the twist is that increases up to 30% in supply costs each year. So if we do it now, we pay for it now. If we spread it out, it's going to get more expensive due to inflation. 2 answers to that. Number one, talk to your reserve study provider. They can model it. They can help see what the actual numbers are to give you a better or worse, kind of like going to the optometrist and They say, which one's better or worse. They can actually play with the numbers. But number two, loans are generally a very expensive way to pay for reserve projects, because not only are you paying for the project, you're paying interest to the bank. And that can get very expensive over time. And in addition, the banker is going to make sure that you've set your budget high enough, your monthly assessments high enough, so they can get paid back. So rather than wait for the banker to get in your pocket and tell you, mandate higher monthly assessments, just raise your monthly assessments, generate the cash yourself, and that way you can perhaps totally eliminate having to pay the bank the interest. Have you seen a lot of bankruptcies lately, and how do you feel about those with missing funds due to, I think they're asking two different questions here. Have you seen a lot of bankruptcies lately? Among associations, no, that generally doesn't happen. We've seen pretty stable as far as the delinquency rate with homeowners. In general, the delinquency rate of homeowners is less than the financial problems of the nation as a whole, because we're talking about homeowners here, and they tend to be more stable with the financial wherewithal to pay their bills. But the answer is no. We haven't seen among our clients associations saying we just don't have the cash to do this. Yes, it's a good idea to stay on top of your delinquencies. Make sure you're communicating with your owners who are having financial problems. If they need time, give them the appropriate amount of time, but it is always best to have owners who are paying their fair share of the ongoing costs of the association. Maybe that means the current owner who's in financial difficulty needs to sell, so you can get a new owner in who has the ability to pay their fair share. So there's a number of different factors, but no, we have not seen we have not seen HOA bankruptcies, and we've not seen a significant rise in owner delinquencies among our clients. We've not at least heard about it. And that brings us to the end of our Q&A. I hope that was helpful. We want to have information so we can empower you to have success at your association. Any questions, by all means, reach out to us at Association Reserves, www.reservestudy.com. Thank you again.